It's 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Karen, would you take the roll, please?
Commissioner Young?
Here.
Commissioner Batty?
Here.
Commissioner Miller?
Here.
Commissioner Keen?
Here.
Commissioner Brink?
Down here.
And Chair Gerard?
Here. We ask if you're able to please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Chair is looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. No debate on this motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Give me 1 second before we continue. Karen, are we still supposed to be rolling, asking for a roll each time, or are you good with a verbal aye?
I'm good with just verbal. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Aren't you gonna miss it?
No. I mean, I'm good. I mean, you guys do whatever, whatever works for you is good for me. If you want me to call individually,
We
I can
want
do
to
that.
keep you happy, Karen. That's,
Let's do it all at one time.
all right. Chair is looking for a motion to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from the June 23rd, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A motion by Susan, a second by Mike. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? I'll abstain. Meeting minutes are approved. So the first item on our agenda for business is the 4851 217th Street variance. This is a table from the June 23rd, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. That we held a public hearing at that meeting, so we won't have a public hearing as such, but we'll often take comments when there's been a table. So this will work very similar to the same meeting on June 23rd. Donovan will present the facts as the application as he knows them. Planning Commission members will ask any questions that they may have. We'll ask the applicant if they wish to speak. And after that, I'll ask if anyone wants to make any comments. It won't be a formal public hearing. And then we'll bring it back for a decision by the Planning Commission. So with that, Donovan, are you going to present?
Yes, sir. Chair, members of the Forest Lake Planning Commission, I'd like to present the amended survey from the variance application for 4851 217th Street. Karen, if you give me the video, please. There's been quite a change, quite an amendment of the footprint of the structure. And the amended, I'm not plugged in. The amended,
Cable?
I need the HDMI. Apologize for this.
This will reach over.
Oh, no, it's right here.
It's our first meeting.
Yeah. The amended application is to construct a house 25.1 feet from the road, front property line, and 4.6 feet encroaching upon the lake shore, a 50-foot setback. So to have the house 25 feet from the road edge and 46 feet roughly from the shoreline. In the screen before you, you can see the amended plan. It still has of course, the building footprint is a parallelogram. I counted 17 house corners on this to accommodate, the oddly shaped building footprint, building envelope. And I believe the applicants have done an excellent job of conforming to that, the parallelogram shape. However, they're still requesting variance. And the house footprint as shown doesn't impact the drainage plan that was approved by the city engineer and observed at the last meeting. And this one's probably a bit better because the overflow, or the inlet from the 217th Street works better because it's at the side of the driveway now. And the applicant did send over some house plans. They were not in the packet, but I will show them to you. So here's the house floor plan with the upper part being the accessory dwelling for the applicant's parents, and the full first floor there. And then also to show you the structure from the I believe that's front is the top drawing. Top drawing is the rear, and that would be the I believe the front is the bottom drawing, but refashioned building elevations. And so the staff recommendation is to approve the requested variance to construct the house 25 feet from the 217th Street asphalt road edge and 46 feet from the shoreline, on the conditions that no construction demolition shall occur prior to issuance of the required city permitting. All concerns of the city engineer must be addressed prior to the issuance of the building permit. The drainage improvements shall be constructed according to the approved plan. And if the construction of the home results in drainage issues for an adjacent property, then the applicant shall construct drainage improvements to resolve the flooding issue. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from the Planning Commission.
Commissioners, any questions? Donovan, I have one. There's a deck on the current house. What is the status of that in the new house, since we have a 50-foot setback to the farthest protrusion?
A deck, well, this is the building plan that we have. A deck may be constructed 40 feet from the shoreline,
Okay.
Permitted, but no closer, since this variance application does not, include that.
Okay, thank you. Mike?
Donovan, you said right now the present footage is 46 feet from the water line?
Correct, it's
Shoreline?
proposed to be 46.4, but I thought for cleanliness of the decision and just that wiggle room given.
Is that with the low water tide now, or is that the normal water level?
That's measured at the shoreline of Clear Lake as of, August of 2020.
Okay, because,
that's-
everybody here
that's-
knows it's down a couple feet.
Yeah, that's similar to what we do, we accept the sign survey as.
You have a standard. Okay, so if they do come back for a deck down the future, it's only a 6-foot deck?
Correct.
Okay,
Well, or,
great.
yeah,
Depending on where they put it.
correct.
Other questions? Hearing none, would the applicant like to say anything? Okay, thank you. Since we have a different plan here, does anyone in the audience wish to speak to this issue? See no one coming forward, I'll bring it back to the commissioners for a decision.
I'll make a motion to recommend granting this variance of reducing the frontage from the lake from 50 to 46.4 and from 217th Street North from 30 feet down to 25.1.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mike seconds. Susan?
Are you also including the conditions of the?
Oh, yes, the
Staff recommendation.
the staff recommendation, the 3 staff recommendations.
Or?
I'll second.
Were there 3 or 4?
4.
Or?
So with the 4 staff recommendations?
So what is the 4th one then?
Do you want to bring it up on the screen?
Yeah. Page 9. 4.
The 4.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. So what happens now is, the planning commission, we make the final decision unless someone would like a counter decision made, a different decision made, and then they have 1 week to appeal to the city, and then the city council will review it. If no one comes forward in the next week, it will move forward as is. So on behalf of the planning commission, good luck with your project.
And we appreciate the work that you've done very much. Thank you. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
It was my understanding that the next item on our agenda, the folks were planning on being here this evening, but I don't see them. So would it be possible, sir, to do item number 8 before we do 7?
Would you like the motion to change the agenda?
Yes, please.
We have a motion to change the agenda and have item 8 become item 7 and item 7 to become item 8. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Very good. So we'll move to the new item number 7, 7050 Scandia Trail, Castlewood Clubhouse Site Plan Review. This is tabled from our November 18th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. Again, we've had the public hearing on this, so what we will have is similar to the last application. The city will present the facts of the application as they know them. Commissioners will ask any questions when they have finished. Then we will ask the applicant if they would like to add anything to it. And based on that, we'll ask, since it is a table, if there's anyone from the public who would like to comment on them, and then it'll come back for a decision by the Planning Commission. So with that, Donovan, are you presenting?
Yes, sir. Chair, members of the Planning Commission, I'd like to present the site plan review for the Castlewood Clubhouse. Castlewood, of course, is the municipal golf course located on 217th Street, on Highway 97. During the last review on November 18th, the Planning Commission had concerns about building location, drainage, windows and doors, landscaping, emergency vehicle access, and I recall a floor plan request. And so the staff memo before you attempts to address these concerns. Also before you is a letter from a nearby business owner, Max Stevens, the previous owner of Stella's, who had some concerns. He's also met with Jamie from Parks to have conversations about that. And primarily the concerns he raised are not site plan review concerns, though there is one particular, related to stormwater management, which the Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District is the permitting agency for these. And They do not require any stormwater management for this. But, you know, as a site, the, you know, we do have to accommodate the flowage, and that was, I think, one of the concerns from November 18th. And before you, also in your packet, is the site plan, which shows spot elevations around the current circular drive, with drainage arrows leading to, you know, to lower elevations around the building to provide proper drainage. And this does show, you know, water flowing, you know, stormwater flowing away from the building foundation. Also, a concern that was raised was the landscaping plan. And so what we proposed here is a pretty robust collection of plantings that provide both aesthetic improvement, enhancement of the building structure. The building is plain, but also some screening and some shade. So we have trees, you can see on that western side, and foundation plantings, and you know, fill that. On that southeastern side is a cart storage area, and that's to replace the cart storage area that's currently there. And this will, I'll show you the details here. So you can see the carts lined up here. So they'll be replaced here, and also part of the site plan involves screening with trees along the southern border, which do screen the corral and also screen the building. Also provide a little, just a little more of a kind of enclosure area there. So to address any emergency vehicle concerns, there's a 12-foot wide bituminous pathway, which the fire chief did review and feels that's adequate. Also want to point out just give you a little more elevation, that we did do some enhancements to the exterior as well. And these final images at the end bottom show the proposed building with those trees that surround it and the arborvitae there.
On the arborvitae, are they between the building and 97?
Yes. Yeah, it's a complete row. I forget the number. It's a pretty significant number. Also, I seem to recall a question regarding floor plan, and I can provide that here. So this is a 3,200 square foot building to replace approximately, I think it's a little under 400 square feet currently. And so we have just tables and chairs for relaxation. There is some refreshments available, planned. And then for this is it's an early concept, but it shows potential golf simulation areas, as well as office space and storage. The Parks, Trails, and Lakes Commission last Wednesday night reviewed this, and for them, it was a lot about, getting a more functional building. Right now, things are stacked on top of each other. There's, cases of beer that are next to desks, and it's really not a good situation. And they unanimously passed a motion to approve the construction of the proposed clubhouse. Also, the golf course operator gathered 170 signatures in favor of the construction. And with that, I'm happy to take a question. Well, there is a staff recommendation to approve. And there are 4 conditions that relate to meeting the city engineer and fire chief's concerns, building according to approved plans, obtaining the required building permits, and meeting the standards of the Comfort Lake Forest Lake Watershed District permit. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from the Plan Commission.
Before I have questions, Donovan, you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation, there was a letter from Stella's.
It was from Max Stevens.
Was it supposed to be in the packet?
No, it's in,
Dias in front of you, behind your agenda.
We just received it today, and we forwarded it to the Plan Commission in an email.
Is it a copy of it? You should have.
Is it, okay, because this doesn't say anything about Max or
Who it
Stella's
is,
or
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, no,
Is-
that was not from Stella's, it was from Max. Max doesn't own Stella's any longer, he just owns the property underneath it.
Yeah, this is all we've got.
Us retired guys forget our emails every now and then, so my apologies.
So that
So-
letter is in here?
No, it was attached to your agenda.
Pardon?
Oh,
The letter
I've got this, but I
Right
didn't
in
know what
front of you there.
Mr. Stevens
So-
had asked.
to all.
Yeah,
Do-
well,
Do I assume that these are the
yeah,
questions that Mr.
questions.
Stevens
He
asked?
was the ones that asked the questions.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for clearing that up for me.
Sorry, it was forwarded in an email format, so I just printed it off of email, and that's what you guys
No
got.
problem. Questions for staff? Justin? Thank you for raising your hand. I have to remember you're over there, and I apologize.
I wasn't sure if I saw, is there any signage at all on the building?
there's no signage proposed at the moment. That's something that occurred to me today, that perhaps we could get, some Forest Lake branding there, but that'll be up to the Parks, Trails and Lakes Commission, I imagine, to.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Mike?
I know I requested this last time we had a meeting or 2 times ago, but, there's no numbers in these pictures. Like, how wide is the patio? How wide is that golf storage? There's no measurements anywhere. There's no plans for outdoor seating. People want to have a table outside and, on a beautiful day, they're golfing and, anyway, I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, so if I could address a couple of those. That's a 10-foot overhang, where the roof comes down.
It's a what?
10-foot overhang.
10 foot.
And that I believe there'll be picnic tables, put there. The building, this is I believe a 60-foot span here.
But there's no measurements out there. I was just asking because I know we all asked for numbers when the last time we met, and it was just, chicken scratch. Also on page 38, could you pull up page 38?
Which I don't have
Okay,
the numbers. in mind.
utility connections, they say the sewer line is being installed. Wasn't the sewer and water already installed like a year or 2 ago?
Sewer's there, there's no water, it's
They
going to have a
dug that
well.
all up and put sewer in, no water?
It has to be a well.
Oh, okay, oh well.
We don't have those on water, so.
What company put that sewer line in? Yeah, restroom, the one restroom, that's gonna be obviously a male, female, or are they gonna work on trying to
Yeah,
put in a second
I think we
bathroom?
need to discuss whether one restroom's going to be enough, because we get a pretty hefty crowd on some golf
Yeah,
days, so
it-
we may have to have 2.
I
But
have
they
no
both will
problem-
be unisex
I have no
bathrooms.
problem with a second bathroom on a building that size and golfing and,
No, I think that's probably going to have to happen.
who authorized these sewer lines to be installed between 97 and the future building? Who authorized that?
Well, we had plans for the building to put it up, we went for all the approvals of the budget and things like that, so we thought we were a go, but we got a little sidetracked on the whole project. If you want to, I authorized the sewer to be put in. I authorized the building. We brought it before council, they approved it, but we had to take a step back. So we got a little ahead of ourselves, I suppose.
But who authorized that work to be done.
Yeah.
I didn't,
Suppose I would be, I'll take that.
Okay.
I authorized it.
but it never came to the planning commission before all these decisions were made and the sewer lines were put in, foundation or footings, whatever were put in.
No, it did not, no.
Okay. The footings that were put in, were they up to par, or do they have to be removed, or some new
They are up
footings
to
put in?
par, they're up to par right now.
They were?
Yeah.
But somebody, and I don't know who, but somebody said that the inspector said that they weren't up to par, they have to redo the footings,
Think
as of
when they-
last year.
I think they, when they inspected, they had some of them that might have not have been correct, but they are now, no matter what, they are now.
They are now, so they put in more footings
Or they replaced one, or whatever they did.
without coming to the planning commission again?
Or, well, no, that was before we held off. I mean, that was almost immediately that happened, so it wasn't that the footings came in and months later we had to replace them. It was all within a day of the pour. Then they came out and inspected them, they had to replace whatever they had to replace.
And then my last question is, we got this information today, basically just a couple hours before the meeting.
The questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering why
Because we didn't get
we
this
got these
until,
today and not,
we didn't get this till about, what, Karen, 9 or 10 this morning, maybe?
Yeah.
Or maybe even 11?
Were emailed in from,
we got it at 1:30.
yep, they were emailed in from Max Stevens this morning at about 10, I think, or while we were in a meeting. And as soon as I realized they came in, forwarded it, and then went through the responses of the questions.
Well, I appreciate we got it and everything, but I didn't know if maybe some of this information was from a couple days ago.
Yeah.
It's just nice that we can get the stuff earlier than later.
We got this
You
one
got
as
it
early
as
as we
early
could
as you,
get.
I'm not
early as you possibly
questioning
could.
that, I'm not doubting that.
Well, I'll also note that, some of the concerns were raised in that meeting with Jamie that was over a week and a half ago. So Mr. Stevens did have the concerns, but he just expressed them, to the city and received them this morning.
That's it for me.
Any other questions of Donovan?
So I'm curious here about the role of Parks and Recs in this project here.
The golf course is responsibility for subcommittees to the Parks, Lakes, and Trails Commission. They are the ones that are supposed to guide the programming and programmatic issues there. We brought that to them for that reason and that reason only, to ask them about the golf course, whether they thought the building was a good idea, and what they wanted to use that building for, not only during the golf season, but possibly the non-golf season. So they were looking at the programmatic issues of the building. Obviously, the Plan Commission is looking at the site plan and all that, and once, if it gets through the Plan Commission, then it will go to the council to decide if they really want to do that and if they want to fund the rest of the building. So the Plan Commission, the Park Commission is only looking at, is it appropriate, is it a good use for the park, for the golf course, and will it not only aid the golf course in its financial situation and operational issues, but also will it be a good place for other opportunities for recreation?
Point of order here. Just curious about how we're going to is there going to be other discussion other than questions for Donovan? I mean, that's where we are right now. Is there
Well,
going to be
this will
other
be held like
discussion,
any
or-
other presentation, and in this case, the city is the applicant.
Yeah, but I'm just, because there's not a public hearing, so it will come back to this will come back to the planning commission
No.
for
No, it's a table. The public hearing was held,
No.
back in
I
November.
understand. I'm not talking about, I'm just talking about the opportunity to discuss the project.
this will likely be the if we
No,
approve it.
tonight, here tonight.
Yes.
I'm just talking, is this the time to air our questions, concerns? Or will there be a later,
No, I do not. We
Not
approve
later
this
in the
project,
week or
no.
the month
If-
or the
if-
year.
If
I'm
we
just not-
approve the project tonight, it moves on to city council for final approval, and that's the end, we're done, like any other application.
So,
I believe that
what-
what he's asking is, should there be discussion before a motion is made? Or should, if there is discussion by the planning commission members, should that happen after a
Yeah.
motion is made?
Yeah,
I
I'm just,
think
that's
that
why,
that's what the
why
question.
I'm not trying to get,
I'm open either way.
I just was wondering, because we're, this is, what kind of an application is this, Donovan?
This is a site plan review.
Okay, so that's what this is just a site plan review. So the role of the planning commission in this project is to review the site plan.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And as with all applications, the city presents, we ask the applicant if they want to present. We have the public hearing, which we already have, but we'll ask if someone wants to speak tonight. And then we always bring it back for discussion and a motion.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that was going to happen.
Yes, it will, because
That's all.
once,
that's all I'm-
once we vote, the discussion on that
Yes.
issue's over.
Right, I
Correct?
learned that the hard way. Years. I just wanted to make sure, I'm not trying to be difficult, I just wanted to make sure that I understood what the process was going to be.
Any other questions of Donovan? The applicant wish to add any comments? And I would start by asking you to state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Patrick Casey. My address is City Hall here. I'm the city administrator. I know this has been a controversial project. We have made a few missteps. I'll take responsibility for that one. Didn't realize we had to go to the planning commission. It's not how we did it at some other places I was at, so that was my learning experience for this last year. I know that this building isn't popular in some places. It may not be the prettiest building, but we're going to try our best to make it look the best it can with landscaping, a brick bottom. The current golf course office, while some may say it's adequate, it's not. We have a small, table size about for the workers to check in, check out. We have a cooler in there and an office space for the operator, which also then surrounds himself with, like Donovan said, the excess beer that needs to be stacked later into the cooler, the shirts and the golf bags and everything or golf balls that they sell. So it's a small space. We believe there's an opportunity with this building to improve the operation of the golf course. We also believe that by putting this building in, it will add to the golf course's revenue stream, which is really what we're trying to accomplish is the golf course supports itself. Right now, we subsidize the golf course. We're hoping that they can add a little bit more food, a little bit more merchandise, and then possibly if we go with simulators, which that's not been determined, that could be some also revenue for the golf course, and or use it for a recreation facility. Possibly the rec board talked about cross-country skiing and things like that during the winter time. So we think it's a good plan. We think it's a good idea. We may have stumbled a bit on the presentation and the process, but all in all, it's still will be a positive to the golf course. I don't believe it'll have any impact on any other business or any other place. I think it actually will have a positive impact because if we can bring more people to there, I believe they'll have spillover not only in the summer, but if we start to do winter stuff, possibly the winter spillover as well to the restaurant trade. So that's what we're hoping. We have in the past had agreements with. We had an easement to park there. We've come and formalized the parking arrangements with Stella's, which we've never had before. What you're seeing here is an attempt to straighten out the golf course operation that was really, the city had hands off for a very long time and had to scramble to get an operator to allow the golf course to continue to operate. It's an amenity that's good for the city. and we're just trying to make it a little bit better so that we can not spend taxpayer money on the golf course. And that's really the bottom line here, is try to get it to break even so we don't subsidize it with taxpayers' money.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant, Susan?
Mr. Casey, you said that you're going to be using a well for the potable water?
Yes, we have to. We're not close enough for regular water there.
That well either needs to be pretty deep, because a shallow well that will first hit the water table is probably going to have some nitrate issues. And so that will be a challenge.
We understand that it will be a challenge, yes, but it'll be less expensive to drill down deep than it is to bring the water from how far away it is.
Thank you.
Other questions? Mike?
Is this, I know it's early stages, but the winter months, they gonna run the simulators in the
Yeah.
winter, or?
We have to determine the long-term use. Right now, we're not focusing on simulators because that's a cost that we
Okay.
wouldn't know how to, we'd probably have to figure out a contractual arrangement with the current operator, which has a 5-year contract, to place those in, and then figure out what the percentage of the revenue they get and we get. If that's where we're going to go, the other thought by the Parks and Trails Commission was that we could use it as, like I said earlier, cross-country skiing. We could rent skis, or at least that be some kind of a little place that, the golf course stays empty during the winter and can get a lot of snow on it, so the possibility of grooming the trails, we're not there yet. We're probably at least a year away from trying to figure any of that out. Right now, we need to get the thing built, and if we're allowed to build it and get it finished off when we can. So I expect the Parks, Lakes, and Trail and staff will take a look and see what the next step is as far as whether we do simulators, whether we do cross-country skiing, whether we do both, or neither. So we're still looking into that part of it and figuring it out.
And then the funding on that, do we already have the funds for that?
We will be going to City Council with funding recommendations.
Okay, and do you have a ballpark figure?
$100,000.
100,000? That's the well, the building,
Yep.
everything?
Well, the building's been paid for. The construction of the building's been paid for. It's the well, it's the interior finishing, it's the concrete, the asphalt, so.
Here's a question a lot of people have asked me, and they probably asked other commissioners and council members, was any COVID money
No,
used for this project?
no. We originally intended that when before regulations came out. The COVID regulations were comparatively late compared to when we got the money.
Well, you know the rumors and stuff,
Oh,
so
I know.
I just
And we
want to
interpreted
clarify
it one
that.
way, then they came out with different rules, and it's shown a light on this, and it was withdrawn, so no COVID money was spent on
I
this.
just wanted to clarify that for everybody listening at
Yep.
home, Zooming
No
and
money,
everything.
no
that-
COVID money at
Okay.
all, it was
Good, thank you.
changed.
I just, one other, my last comment.
Oh, sure.
I just wish we could have had some pictures more of what the building was gonna look like other than the two sides. Like, we asked, like, make it look like, some fake windows and doors, and I saw it on the two sides.
Yeah.
But it would've been nice to see the other two
So we'll
sides.
be putting some windows in and we'll try to make it look as best we can. We're gonna upgrade it, like I said, we'll put a brick surrounding on the lower third or whatever the dimension is, and try to do that, and try to make it look nice.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Susan?
Chair, the only thing that the planning commission can review is whether or not the site plan meets requirements.
Right.
And so, Mr. Chair, I am making a motion that we
Right.
approve the site plan with the 4 staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Before I call, any discussion on the motion?
Oh, yeah.
I'm willing to let bygones be bygones here. I realize the process wasn't good here. You've been very forthright and upfront with us about that. But I look at this site plan. Still, even with all of its improvements. And I just wonder if it was somebody other than the city coming to us with a plan like this, what kind of reaction and response we'd get. First from planning staff and then from us. And I'm still just baffled that we're doing this thing on a shoestring and just cobbling this thing together so that it, just barely makes it, just barely slides in under the zoning ordinances. And it's not a good plan. It isn't. It's not well conceived. I realize that there's a lot of work that's gone into it, and I realize that there is a limited budget here, but this is not a good plan. And I think we're setting a poor example as a city when we do things like this. And unless golfing has changed, the desire of our culture to want to golf, at a decent golf course and have a halfway decent clubhouse, this just seems to me to be just such a weak effort to try to create something that's going to do the kind of things that the city manager here suggested that it would be good to do. Generate interest in the project and, generate interest in the golf course. Create a revenue stream here, that sort of thing. And, I am not an avid golfer. I just do it a few times a year, so I'm probably not a good, but I can tell you this, when I golf, I want, the golf, the clubhouse, whatever you want to call it, lodge, clubhouse, is an important part of that experience. And I just think we're, I just don't think that this is anything that anybody's going to say, wow, maybe maybe a few of the people who used used it when it had the 400 square foot clubhouse, will ooh and ah, but nobody else is going to compare, because if you compare it to other municipal golf courses and the associated clubhouses with those municipal golf courses, this doesn't hold, I know enough to know that this isn't going to hold a candle to those. And I'm not happy with this.
Thank you.
I'm not.
Can you expound a little bit? Non-aesthetical,
Well, that's part of it.
aesthetics aside, what else about the site plan is?
Well, the first thing is the fact we're putting up a pole barn, and, I know it's got an overhang, and I know we're gonna put windows in it and all that kind of stuff, and unfortunately, I know the economics of this without being told, just because of my background, either bragging or complaining. It just happens, I just happen to have that information at my hands. But it just seems to me that that we have an opportunity here. It's a nice golf course, we've got the natural resource, if you please. We've got the property, and to not develop a site plan with proper parking and, an entrance to this thing and signage, no signage, who builds a golf course and doesn't put signs up? Come on. I'm not gonna say anymore, but I'm just not happy about this at all. I think we could do, I think we have it within us to do a much, much better job than what we're doing.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other discussion? Mike?
I agree a little bit on that. It's basically a pole barn. It looks like it sounds like it's kind of a rush job. They, just hurry up, put this in, put that in, and then when things happen, now it's still a pole barn, no matter how you look at it.
The site plan that we are reviewing is for location, for building, et cetera. On this particular large parcel, a pole barn's acceptable, so we need to get past that and focus on the rest of the site plan. Susan?
I think that we all understand this was not the city's finest hour. And one of the reasons that the planning commission was so frustrated with this process was that, unfortunately, a city not only has to do what we say, but we have to do it. And so, we knew that whatever we did here would set precedent, and that if a developer were to come in with the kind of proposal that was first put to us, we would have to accept it if we had accepted the first proposal here. I still do not see a lighting plan. I'm uncomfortable with the drainage. Water goes someplace from an impervious surface. I understand that the watershed district signed off, and I also understand why. But this was not our finest hour. This is a site plan review for us. I don't think that any of us are happy with all of the aspects of this. But as a site plan, with the exception, I'm assuming there will therefore be no lighting and there will be no signage, because they are not part of the site plan.
There's no signage for the building. There's already a sign for the golf course
Right,
already
there
out
is.
by the road, so.
The rock. So, Mr. Chair, if there aren't
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries. Good luck on your project. Well, if the city approves it.
Now, this is one time when I really don't want to be a city council member.
All right. Item number 8. Applicants here, Susan?
Pardon?
Good to
Yeah.
go. Okay. Item number 8 is 18980 Fenway Avenue. It's a variance application. We will hold a public hearing to consider this application. We'll run this like any other public hearing. Once again, we'll hear from the city. They will present the application as they know it. Commissioners will ask any questions to clarify it. We will then ask the applicant if they would like to say anything about their project. We will then hold a public hearing. I'll give further instruction there, and then we'll have that. We'll bring it back for more discussion and a decision by the Planning Commission. So with that, Donovan, I believe you're presenting?
Yes, sir. Chair, members of the Planning Commission, I'd like to present the variance application from Matt and Stacy St. George for the property at 18980 Fenway Avenue. This is located in the Agriculture Zoning District, just the intersection of Fenway and 190th Street. The St. George's purchased this lot last fall. It's a 2-acre lot. And currently on the site, there is a single-family home. And as they discuss in their narrative, they soon realized they need more storage space. And so with that, they began plans to build a accessory structure. And they're here this evening, along with their builder, Josh Schoenard, to represent the application. On the submitted site plan, it shows basic features, the driveway, the house, septic mound to the northwest of the house, and the proposed location of a 20 by 30 garage, detached garage. The variance request is to locate the garage 10.9 feet from the rear property line. This is a corner lot where the rear property line is the western line, and then the side property line is the southern, and front is the Fenway, or the eastern property line. required building setbacks are 50 feet for the rear, 20 for the side, and at least behind the house for the front setback. And, or 100 feet. In this case, it would be behind the house, in comparison to Fenway. The submitted application discusses, the St. George's narrative discusses the reasons for the request. They say that it's limited to the potential future septic system, which could be also in the northeast area. This is a septic system that was installed in 2014, so that's not an urgent need at the moment. And also related to concerns for drainage. They mentioned potential water intrusion into the garage if it's located anywhere else on the lot within the acceptable building envelope for accessory structure. They believe it might create drainage issues for the adjacent parcel, which the parcel is located adjacent to a cornfield, which is currently planted. And so, that's there. And then also, they have concerns around security if it was located elsewhere. The submitted survey doesn't provide spot elevations to that really show a big change in grade that would prevent the house from being, in my opinion, from being placed in the building envelope. And roughly the current building envelope is shown in red. So that's 50 feet from the rear property line and at least 22 feet from this judicial ditch shown in this dashed line on the southwest corner of the property. And so this is the area that could be potentially, and there's also some offset from the attached garage doors as well. So this is the potential building envelope of about 8,500 square feet for the 840 square foot structure. Also, I did a site visit in talking to Mr. George. I'm sorry, St. George. I love that name, by the way. Mr. St. George. It does appear that it's an uneven building pad, at least for, in particular here, where that seems like that's an appropriate location that would meet concerns for security and also be within that building envelope. And also suggested maybe there was a lot line adjustment that could be obtained to provide the setback. But obviously before you is the variance application. And the staff recommendation is to deny based on that the applicant has not provided evidence that the variance application meets the criteria for granting a variance. And it appears that an accessory structure can be designed to fit into the, I'm sorry, there's a typo there, about 8,500 square feet, acceptable building envelope without a variance. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from the Planning Commission.
Any questions of Donovan? Excuse me, Dennis?
So the reason for the 22-foot setback from the west property line there is, talked about some kind of a ditch?
There's a judicial ditch, the Rice Creek Watershed District, which this is not correct. Basically, this,
I understand.
yeah, this actually comes across here, and the survey is correct. There's cleanouts there to show. But basically, it cuts across here, and there needs to be adequate room.
So it's a right-of-way thing?
Correct, yeah, yeah.
So that's why. it's
Rice
the
Creek
22
Watershed
feet.
District
Yeah.
easement.
Okay. And what is it? Fenway is the eastern property line, and that is the front yard. That's what you're considering the front yard here.
Correct. Yeah, the zone,
The house is not oriented that way.
there is I mean, there is a front door here. There is
Okay, so
the
there's
driveway.
one there. Okay. We don't have,
This is Dan Taylor's old house, if you know that one.
but, okay, so there is a front, I was just kind of curious, because, the house, all we had to go by was the site plan orientation of the house, which is fine.
And I also mentioned that Mr. Taylor did write an email in support of the application.
Isn't there a tower on that property somewhere?
No, that's on his old rental house. I mean,
Oh, okay.
it's north on Fenway.
Other questions for Donovan? Hearing none, would the applicant like to add any comments?
Yes, we would.
Please come up. I ask you state your name and address for the record.
My name is Matt St. George, and my address is 18980 Fenway Avenue North. So when we purchased the house back in last August, we loved the neighborhood, we loved where we were at, and we understood the issues of having a 110-year-old farmhouse that we were buying. The house currently faces, when you look at the house, you would see the front of the house facing Fenway Avenue. And the back of the house essentially comes almost up to the property line. What we weren't aware of at the time was the judicial ditch that is in there. We started thinking about what we were gonna do for storage within our new house, and we came up with the idea of building this new structure that would give us the opportunity to move some of the things out of our current garage and use our current garage for storage in the same way that we would a basement, and have our boxes and stuff in one of the stalls, and then have two other garage stalls that we could use for some of my woodworking that I do, as well as some auto mechanic stuff that I do as a hobbyist. These were, we talked with Josh, our builder, and we came up with a plan to try to mitigate some of the issues with the judicial ditch. We talked with the watershed folks who came out and looked at our property and said that based on where our structure was, they wouldn't have a problem related to the structure that we're thinking of building. And then we knew that we were gonna have to get a variance. We worked with Donovan. Donovan came out and looked at what we currently have. The big issues for us were the issue of security. Our first night living in Forest Lake, we did have a theft of our tractor and our trailer out of our front yard, and that became an issue for us. We haven't had any problems since then, and we don't think that we probably will, but it was a shock to us, and that's one of our concerns, is trying to keep our house or our accessory structures close to our current property. But we also looked at keeping the property neat and keeping things looking in tune with the rest of the area. The rest of the area is farmland almost all the way around us. And the house is 110 years old. So the structure that we want to build is going to match what's currently there. The outside of it will look like the current garage. It'll have the same garage doors. Theoretically, we're going to have the exact same lighting, if we can find it, that is currently on there. And it's going to be a neat one parcel where we're not going to be spreading portions of this all over. But we also looked at the grading and our concerns about putting things across the driveway, as proposed by Mr. Hart. Putting things across the driveway does cost us additional money from a financial standpoint, to bring an additional fill in and having to build that area up in order to put our garage in that area. So, and then also keeping in mind where that drain tile ditching is, and our concern with that. So we've thought this through. We believe this to be one of the better areas that we would be able to do. And our neighbors, Dan and Betty Taylor, have agreed with that, as well as other neighbors in the area who have come and personally talked to us. Unfortunately, they're not here right now, but that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you. If you're staying up for just 1 second.
Absolutely.
Any questions for the applicant? Susan?
I had an opportunity to walk the property, and one of the concerns that you expressed with where Donovan Mr. Hart had suggested the garage was needing to drive on the drain tile. Talk about that a little bit, please.
So one of the areas that kind of where the proposed site that Donovan had said, our concern is where that drain tile would be. We talked about essentially where we'd be able to put that garage, and my concern is either it's going to adversely affect the drain tile, or we would have to drive on the drain tile for any driveway for that structure, or we would have to put in a different type of driveway that could adversely affect the drain tile. And I guess that's one of my bigger concerns for that area in relationship to that.
To clarify that drain tile, we're talking the arrows here, that's where the actual is, correct?
So if
On the drawing that
I do have
Donovan,
a photo that comes from the county website of the GIS mapping that is pretty accurate as to where the drain tile is. If you don't mind, I could give that to you.
Because it comes closer to the driveway than it
Then-
shows on this survey.
okay.
Is
That's-
that the case?
This gives a pretty good and accurate
Well,
description.
let's see it then.
Your survey
I'll just pass it down.
shows the, Matt, your survey shows the location of it, correct?
The
That one.
survey is, yes, that survey that is up on the
Yeah,
screen
yeah.
now.
So it has the 22.7 feet from your proposed, location to the drain tile,
I
right?
believe that that's accurate.
So I'm missing something here. How are we driving over that? Not seeing that.
Yeah, according to this diagram, it's
My understanding.
almost not on their property.
My understanding from my conversation with Mr. Hart was that we were looking at putting that his proposed area for that structure would be across the driveway from the current garage system. And that would be closer and be in an area that would adversely affect where the drain tile is and the venting for that drain tile, and then the drainage down to that low point where the drain tile enters.
But that diagram there doesn't show, even if you move the garage to the other section, it wouldn't be anywhere near the drain tile.
Farther away, it
Yeah.
looks like to me.
And according to Donovan's, the red box, yeah.
One of the other things that we also were considering is that the main view from inside the house, from our dining room and from our living room, is out to the south of the address. And currently, we look out into a farm field, which is a good view of what we would have. Any structure that we would put in that area would block any view that we have from that house. There are very few windows to the north of the address that look out onto 190th. And so, again, our consideration was keeping it a clean view and keeping a neat and compact structure.
Yeah. I've been in that house, on that property, many times over the years, when Dan was building it and working on the tree projects and stuff, so I'm very familiar with the property.
Dan was building it?
No, while he was building it, or remodeling it.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You look really, really good for 120.
Thank you, Susan. But no, when he bought it and then started remodeling it, and then tearing down the trees and redoing everything, the sewer system.
Any other questions for the applicant?
So, you made a comment about how the garage was going to be used. Is the garage going to be used for the new garage for vehicles, or is that for storage?
The new garage we will most likely park one vehicle in that garage, and then we will use it for storage, as well as I will move some of my woodworking equipment into that garage.
Why not just add on to the house? I mean, if that's what you're gonna do. Why not just add on to the house?
There isn't a direction that we would be able to add on to the house.
Add on to where
Add
the
on to the-
garage is.
to the
Just come out
garage.
from where the garage is and put it right there. And then, in terms of economics, that's not, you know, I know we're not supposed to design, but it seems like to me, there's other options here.
Because of the way that the roof structure is on that house, that is something that we considered as well. And the way that the roof is structured there, we would essentially, to be able to pull the entire front of that garage out to the end of the concrete pad, I think is what you're referring to. We would have to essentially take that roof off and repitch that roof to be able to do that. And you would end up, that would be a significant amount of money with the new trusses and everything else to be able to do that.
Other questions for the applicant? Thank you. We may have more later for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. The way this will work is that we will open the application, comments on the application to the public. We ask that you state your name and address for the record. After we have heard from all of the public interested in speaking, we will close the public hearing, and then we will bring it back for discussion with the Planning Commission and a decision. So with that, we'll formally open the public hearing at 8:06. Does anyone wish to speak to this issue? Karen, do we have anyone online that is looking to speak?
Not,
I'll ask again, does anyone wish to speak to this issue? Seeing no one come forward and having no one online, we will close the public hearing at 8:07 and bring it back to the Planning Commission for discussion and a decision. And Karen, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Karen and Susan's raising her hand. So Susan, the slow learner here tonight.
Hey, you're doing a lot better than I did at the last meeting. It was not my finest effort, to be honest. Walking this property, I understand exactly why the applicant wants to put that garage where it is. And moving it across the driveway to the south chops the property up. I mean, chops the buildings up and really doesn't make for a good fit. And again, when you walk the property, I realize there are no drainage lines on here. But there would be concerns. I think that it's telling that the watershed district agrees with where they would prefer to put the garage. I'm usually not one. Mr. Chair, I'm going to move that we approve the variance.
We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
With the
With the recommendations that, well, your staff recommendations are for denial. And so if I say that these, with your recommendations,
no, I'm not saying you should, but.
right, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend the variance, and you want me to go through all my reasons? Oh, darn it. Okay, so, because of the particular physical surrounding shape and topographical conditions, specifically the drainage of the area, and the unique configuration of the lot and where the house is on it, and the way that the property is configured. I believe that the property owner does propose to use the property in a reasonable manner. The plight of the landowner is due to the circumstances, the drainage, the configuration of the house, the existing house and driveway, and the existing configuration of the property. The granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare. It is in keeping with the spirit and intent of this chapter, and especially since this property is zoned ag. It's still zoned ag, correctly, Donna? Okay. With the spirit and intent of the chapter, it will not impair the light and air to the adjacent properties. It will not substantially increase congestion on that dirt road. Where are the rest of mine? Thought I had all of the things that I needed. It will not increase the danger of fire or endanger public safety or substantially diminish or impair property values in the neighborhood. And by keeping the garage where the applicant is wishing for it, and which the watershed district has agreed is appropriate, it will not cause drainage issues for an adjacent property.
So we have a motion with conditions. Do I have a second? I'll ask one more time. Do I have a second? Hearing none, I believe the motion dies.
Yes?
We will continue our discussion, or we'll look for another motion. So my comments are, I'm not necessarily looking for 50-foot rear setback on this property, but it's really hard to have a 2-acre lot and have a 10-foot setback. This is what I'm dealing with. I'd be much happier if we could split the distance and get closer to 25 feet. That I could probably stand behind, but at 10 feet, I just can't do it. That's my opinion.
The problem is that the existing garage, their existing structure, isn't 50 feet from the edge of the property. 48.
Or 48.
So it's a foot shy.
I thought it said 49.
I thought it said 49.8, but
40,
But I'm-
48, yeah.
48.8, 48.8, yeah.
So,
I'm not looking for 50, but I'm looking for more than 10.
Okay.
That's mine. Other comments? Discussion?
Paul, or Commissioner?
Kevin?
I agree with you, Paul. I think, I'm not necessarily looking for 50 feet either, but it really appears, we're 35 feet away at least from the other structure, the main structure. And it sure appears we could pull that garage more towards the red, kind of the proposed area to build the house. Easily, another 10 to 12 feet. So I'm not necessarily opposed for a slight variance, like you said, but I think going down to 10 feet would be pretty tough. I think if we could get that 25, 30 feet away, because then you'd just be coming into the driveway a little bit more. A driveway could be added. It's gravel. It's not a tarred driveway. It's gravel driveway. I would be more flexible then.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Dennis?
I would basically concur with that. I look at this site plan here, and if I'm understanding, again, we don't have elevations of the house there, so I don't know for, I don't know for sure, but it looks to me like the garage is the portion of that south elevation there that kind of extends out, so that the garage doors aren't right up against the west end of the house there. Is that correct? Is the garage door about 10 feet over from the southwest corner of the house?
I'll stand up, I can probably show a little better. So you were asking about elevations, they are noted on the existing house?
No, I'm talking about a view, an elevate, architectural term for the side view of a house is north, south, east, west elevation. That's the kind of elevation. I'm not talking about grades here.
Yep, yeah, I was just commenting.
I just want, the position of the garage, the garage door.
Yeah, so right below existing garage 917.3, FFE garage, that is the 16-foot garage door
So there is another one to the west of it there then?
Yeah, so then you've got the dimension line 35.8. That is actually concrete. That is a concrete drive there. So that is not gravel at that point. If we were to take that building, like you mentioned, and move it forward 10 feet, you literally put that building right in the driveway of trying to drive into the third stall on the far left of the building. So that dimension line of 35.8 shows the left side of the concrete driveway, which would then line up with the front line of the new proposed accessory structure.
But that's 35 feet away
Well,
from the existing garage.
35 feet in what regards?
Well, I mean, you said if we move the garage out into the driveway more, you're still from the north side of the proposed building to the existing garage is still 35.8 feet, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you should be able to get a car or truck or something in 35 feet, correct?
But yeah, I would agree, but functionality and aesthetic-wise, would you place a building right in the front line of sight of your third stall of the garage when there's a port apron already existing?
But you're 35 feet away. You're not putting it right in front of that garage door, where you gotta maneuver in and out.
Understood. I mean, is there a number where it says, well, it's not?
I'm just going off these numbers that you gave us.
Another comment that was, that just made me think a little bit too, there are some elevations showing down in the bottom corners that do show the grade difference. It does show, proposed floor at 917, it shows the existing garage at 917. We're at a 914 and a 913 down on the south side, just to help understand that better.
Other comments?
Realistically, when we looked at that, we looked at all this water that's coming down from the garage. It's already draining that way, draining towards the drain tile. The field from the south is already heading back towards the drain tile. We looked at that as functionality, as just better building practice tells us to not put a monolithic slab right where we've got a bunch of water, which is why we came up with this thing.
Other discussion, commissioners?
We were just discussing the location of the drain tile when he was mentioning that, how the drain tile is actually behind the future garage and down south. So we were kind of looking at that as what he was trying to explain to ourselves, what he was talking about when the water's draining towards the drain tile.
Dennis?
I just think it's possible to move that down on the plan, or to the south, the garage to the south, and move it in to the east, and have little or no impact on the house.
Might even look nice if they slightly turn it with the configuration of the driveway.
Several different possibilities there that I think are possible, and
Right at the curvature of the driveway where you could go straight into the new garage or, there's a lot of other options here.
I don't think that would be bad at all.
I assume you're planning to construct this year? That should be your hope?
As soon as we would be able to get a building permit, we would be building.
Justin?
I just wanted to add, I do concur with what Kevin said. I'm definitely willing to go in a little bit more on that, but as far as aesthetics, unfortunately with the variance, I really don't place a lot of weight on aesthetics, but more of just kind of where we're kind of going with the actual building itself, but it makes sense to me to kind of move it in a little bit. It should be fine.
I would make a motion to table, to allow the applicant to take another look at it based on the input that we've provided. And I would say till, since they want to build a is August 11th meeting enough time, or do we have to order? We good?
Well, it's a week turnaround. As far as getting.
Be a week for you guys to take a look at it? I have to set a date. It'd be either the 11th or the 25th.
Not the 25th.
Huh?
There's no meeting the 25th.
The 11th is looking better. So my motion is for August.
We would be happy to do
Thank you, but for August
Second.
11th. And I have a second. It's a non-debatable motion, so we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Good luck. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you.
We are on the other part of our agenda. I'll start with our esteemed city administrator, if you'd like to have any comments for us.
No, I would just like to thank you for the approval, and again, we'll do our best to make it work out well.
Okay, Donovan?
We do have an agenda for August 11th, so we'll get together again, you know.
Excellent.
If, what's the phrase? The creek don't rise or something like that? You know, but there's
Yep.
another part of it, Susan, you know that. What
Yep.
is it? Hell don't come and the creek don't rise? But also, yeah, on the 25th, I will be taking my son to California for his college adventure, beginning of his college adventure.
So it's all about you.
Well,
That's why there's no meeting?
Patrick would be happy to be the planner for the
it's
evening.
You can
because-
Zoom.
My wife, she's the planner.
You can Zoom in.
Because it's July 28th, and applications have to be in 30 days in advance of the meeting, see. I'm just going by the rules, you know. And also, we've had some staff discussions around getting the, getting some extra planning muscle to do the comprehensive rezoning. So I'm looking to start that in early fall. We'll also have some discussions in earnest involving, getting the zoning code consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from the planning commission.
Are you looking for a consultant to help with the zoning code?
Yeah,
Okay. Realize that we are still going to need time to review the sections of the zoning code. So like, if the consultant comes in and said, hi, here's 150 pages of zoning code, go, planning commission for next week, that might be a challenge.
no,
We'll just take
I'm not gonna do that to you. No, I understand, no, this. Yeah, so no, it is an extended process, but it's initiated by planning commission discussions. At some point, it'll be handed over to the city attorney, and then probably back to the planning commission, for any kind of refinements. So I think it's no doubt is gonna be a process, a deliberative process.
Forest Lake is in a unique point in its development and planning, and there's a lot of stuff in there that we're transitioning from an exurb into a real suburb. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff that we're really gonna wanna think carefully about.
I agree, and the one thing that is coming forward, and we're getting some big subdivision, inquiries, concept plans coming through, and so I've had, almost daily conversations with developers, and there are a lot of skinny lots out there, and that's gonna be something that, I'm not saying advocating for or against, but I think that's gonna be a big part of what we'll need to, be deliberative about as to what are standards.
What is the character of the community that we want to have 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years from now?
Correct.
Any other questions for Donovan? Councilmember Munson, I didn't mean to slight you here. I didn't realize you were Zooming in tonight. Would you like to say a few words or have any comments?
You're muted.
Oh, my gosh.
I can see the,
We're muted.
Oh, there you go.
I wanted to say, Chair Gerard, that there is, try now, Kelly, and see.
try now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay. Yes, I am ill and you all don't want me in there, so thank you for letting me zoom in. I just had a quick update at our July 12th Planning Commission, or not Planning Commission, sorry, City Council meeting. It was brought forward the resolution for the minor subdivision that you had all had approved. And the recommendation from staff was to deny. And after a lot of discussion, and this was for the applicant, Mark Smith. I don't know if you need more detail than that, right? If you know the one, do you know the one that I'm talking about?
Yes.
You do, okay. I can't see you, so I don't know if you're shaking your head yes or not.
Was that the 3
Thank you,
lots?
Susan.
Yeah.
Yes, we, we were okay with lot 2 and 3. We had concerns about lot 1. And since we couldn't do a partial approval, we had to deny the applicant. But knowing, which we didn't feel very good about, but knowing that the applicant could come back a second time. So just wanted to let you know that's why it was denied.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the council member?
So when does the budget process start, Madam Councilperson?
Well, the discussions have already started. I think we have a meeting coming up. Yeah, August 30th, is that correct,
Yeah,
Patrick?
Staff has already started putting its budgets together. That's actually what I was doing while I was sitting here. We will have preliminary discussions on, the big kickoff when the major one is to start on August 30th, but we're also hopefully going to bring other things forward a little bit before that. We're also working on the long-term plan, which has gone from a 10-year plan to a 20-year plan because the needs are so great that there's no way we could afford a 10-year plan. So we'll bring to council some funding issues on infrastructure and just the regular budget process. As you all know, we have to have the levy set in September, so it's kind of a condensed timeline still. So it's already started, and the council, we're putting a budget schedule together, but the big kickoff date is a special meeting on the 30th of August, so.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for the councilwoman?
So is that a workshop then? Is that?
Yes, that's a budget workshop. It's not, it's a special council meeting with a workshop that we will present as much as we can. Hopefully our financial consultant Ellers will be here to further discussion on infrastructure funding and things like that, and then see where we go.
All right, thank you.
$35 million, so.
Thank you. Karen, do you have anything tonight?
I was just going to say that there is now somebody in attendance online, and I don't know if you wanted to allow at this point in the agenda somebody to comment, and I don't know that they want to, but not sure whether in the meeting and what the interest is, but I could certainly allow them to talk or move them into the meeting.
She's a former owner of the house.
Oh, okay, former owner of the house from the previous discussion.
I think since we've tabled that, we would take comment at our next meeting.
Yep.
Thank you. We'll go around the room, as they say. Kevin, anything?
I do not, thank you.
Susan?
Nothing further, sir.
Dennis? Mike?
Mr. Administrator, you were a champ tonight. You knew you were coming here today and you'd probably be under the hammer, and you were, but thank you for your answers and good luck with the project.
And
Words of my dad, go forth and sin no more. Better next time.
I have nothing, in case you're wondering.
you know, we got,
No,
you know,
okay, okay.
it'd be a lot easier if Karen slid down and we put just. So,
Problem is,
can I ask something stupid? Why do you guys get to sit next to each other and up here we're 17 miles apart?
well, I'm not, so I don't know what these guys are doing.
I think so.
Yes, Susan?
I do want to say that Justin was a champ last night at the Arts in the Park and was a real advocate for getting people to comment on the proposed downtown plans. So I appreciated that very, very much.
Thanks for handing that out. I didn't know about it.
All right, last item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, it's not a debatable motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all for participating tonight. Have a good week.
And you, sir.